I want to show you now how to make a 9-patch block. A 9-patch block is a block with 9 squares in the construction of the block. Generally speaking, you're going to use 2 colors. I've got my 2 colors here on my mat. I'm going to line them up, so I'm going to cut 2 strips at the same 2 fabrics at the same time. Going to line up a horizontal line on my ruler. Create my square edge and flip my ruler and mat around. Now for the 9-patch in this quilt, the strips are actually cut 1 7/8 inches. Up until now, whenever I've been cutting strips, I've been telling you to use the power cutting technique, the idea of adding the widths of the strip together. So when we did the 1 1/2, we added 1 1/2 plus 1 1/2 plus 1 1/2 and another 1 1/2, giving us 6 inches. And that's what we started with on our left-hand side. These strips are 1 7/8 inches. I can't add 1 7/8 plus 1 7/8 and have any idea what that comes to. So when I'm cutting odd strip sizes like 1 7/8, I don't power cut. I actually cut the strips 1 at a time. So for this quilt, I need 1 7/8 inches. And one last time. I need 3 of each. To create the 9-patch block, you need to have 2 strips on either side of your main color, then the opposite for the next strip set. So I'm going to have 2 strip sets for this technique. I'm going to take my top piece, put them right sides together, and blossom them out to make sure I have the right sides together. Then go into my sewing machine and sewing with my scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to sew so the strips are all together. Now that my strip sets are sewed, I want to show you that I pressed them in a special way. I try to press toward the dark fabric whenever possible. It's not always possible, but when always possible, try and press toward the dark fabrics. So this strip set, I press to the inside. This strip set, I press to the outside. By doing that, I can stack the strip sets right sides together, one inside the other. This will actually nestle my seams. So this strip set that is pressed to the inside is going to go inside the strip set that is pressed to the outside. I'm going to take and fold it over so I can work twice as fast. I'm going to line my ruler up with the horizontal line on the stitching seam. Spin that around, and with a 9-patch block, you're going to cut the same size segments as you cut strips. So the strips were cut 1 7/8. Now I need to cut my segments 1 7/8 inches. Lining the left-hand side, the vertical line at 1 7/8 inches, and lining up a horizontal line of my ruler on the stitch seam to be sure I'm staying square. Once I have a few cut, I'm going to design my block. So I can design it. So I have dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, and dark, light, dark. Or I could do light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light, dark, light. A couple of different options when you're designing your quilt. To sew these together, you're going to take the strip set and flip it on the other, and you're going to notice that the seams are butt together. That's going to make a big difference with how accurate your piecing is. Now I'm going to take my pin and pin those seams in place. Now I could probably take this to my sewing machine and not have those seams move, but I'm always going to error on the side of caution. I want my seams to stay in place, so I'm going to pin them. My leader is in place, so now I'm ready to sew my segments. With my scant 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'm going to sew until I get near the pin, and I'm going to check my seam and make sure everything is in place and remove my pin. I'm going to take my leader. Again, you know I'm not just sewing one of these blocks for this quilt. If I were sewing a whole string of them, I would chain piece the first 2 strip sets together before I went to the pressing board. In this case, I'm going to press to the dark fabric. So with my dark fabrics on top, the strip set that has the 2 dark pieces, I'm going to start with that on top. Going to set the seam first, flip up the top fabric, starting at the bottom piece, slide my iron up to keep that seam straight. Now I'm going to add the second strip set. Those seams, pin them in place, and go to my machine. I'm going to press again to the dark fabric, set the seam, flip it up, and I have a 9 patch.